purchasing options and requisition options. So these are pretty simple setups that are there. Start with payment terms. Okay, so we can define our own payment terms, and system is quite flexible, and it lets us define all the different types of payment terms what we want. So we can do all the flexible payment terms, and it basically automatically creates all the different types of installments. And when we create our purchase orders, these payment terms can be defaulted down from different places. There is a setup called as procurement options, purchasing options, where we define all the default options that we want to default to our purchase orders, like unit of measures, payment terms. And when we created our suppliers, there also we had seen lot of places, lot of terms there. So all those terms can be defaulted for each individual supplier. First, system will come and look at the supplier site. If these options are defined at the supplier site, it will default from there. If it is not there, it will come to the purchasing options and then see what defaults have been set up. So automatically it is going to default those options. So payment terms determines your payments amount, payments due date. If any discounts are there, all you can do that. Also, payment terms can be shared across business units or restricted depending upon the set you have assigned, the reference set. Okay, so I will go to the system and I will show you how do you define the payment terms. And these payment terms are common for both procurement and payable. So for order management receivable side, there will be different payment terms. Okay, I'll just click on plus icon here. So name, description, from date, to date, all this is fine. In this particular section, in installment section, you can specify different. Let me just give. Let me open the WordPad as well. Like these are some of the examples of payment terms. Okay, this is the naming, this is the type of naming conventions that we use. What does this mean? Immediate means immediate payment. The payment has to be done immediately as soon as the invoice is created. How will you define this type of payment term? You will say, you will select the installment and you will say here due percentage or due amount you can specify. So you will say 100% is due, whatever the invoice amount, 100% is due within how many days? Within 0 days. So this is how you will tell the system that 100% is due within 0 days. If you have net 30, means the payment is due within 30 days. It is a simple business terminology where people uses this. You will use this, payment is due within 30 days.
When the system calculates this, what is the date it uses to calculate that? From the 30th day of what date? Receipt date?
No, so that's what we have to decide. When we define our options, there we have to select whether it is from the invoice date or invoice receipt date. Usually it is from the invoice date.
Not the day when the goods...
No, not from the day the goods are received. There are various options for that. We will see that. So it can be goods receive date, invoice creation date, invoice date. So we can choose that option. But usually in normal business scenarios, we select the invoice date, because usually whenever supplier sends the invoice, from that we count the 30 days. That is the normal business scenario.
Okay, this is just to get a understanding on the functional way our system behaves. So when the supplier gives an invoice, say he gives an invoice, November 1st, his date is in the invoice, what he gave to us is November 1st, but for various reasons that invoice came into our system on the buyer system on November 2nd or November 5th.
Right. So there are two dates. One is invoice entered date, that is the system date. One is goods received date. One is the invoice date, which is there in the invoice. So we can select these dates. So when we select invoice date, that means on which day the supplier has sent us the invoice, not the date when which we have entered it in the system. So this is pretty simple, net 30. If you have net 45, payment within 45 days, 60 days, just keep on adding the days here. Then we have 1 by 10 net 45. Okay. How do you define this type of payment term? But first of all, what does this mean? 1 by 10 net 45 means that 1% discount if paid within 10 days and the normal due days is 45 days. So let's say we owe like $10,000 and if we pay the payment, upfront payment within 10 days, we get a 1% discount, right? So in this scenario, we will say 100% is due within 45 days, but discount percentage is 1% if paid within 10 days. If you pay on the 11th day, then discount is not applicable.
Okay, all this condition what you're putting is grouped under what? The name of the payment term, what you said, March PT 30 days. It is under that, right?
Yeah, it is. So you will have different payment terms for it. You will have like immediate one payment term, net 31 payment term.
Okay, so what I was trying to understand is, so the payment term is the self-explained description what we give in the name field. There is no code. 001 is 30 days, 002. There's no code. It's actually the name of the payment term. What you type itself is the payment term.
Correct. So you will type the name here like immediate or whatever it is, and then you will give the description here. Then similarly, you can have second discount and third discount. Let's say you want to have 0.5% discount if you pay within 15 days. So if another 15 days, like if you pay within 10 days, you get a 1% discount, but supplier gives you more 5 days time, but he reduces the discount to 0.5%. So similarly, second discount and third discount can work like that. Okay, so this is how you will define it. We can go another step ahead and we can define other complex payment terms also, like 15th day of the month. Every 15th of the month, like a supplier says, you can send as many invoices as you want, but I will pay on 15th day of the month, whatever invoices are due. Okay, day of month is 15th. And months ahead means like you can enter 0 to advance the due date for the next month. If it is just due next month, then you will enter 0 here. Or if it is, you want to do 1 month ahead, that means if like the invoice is January, the months ahead would be February. So 1 month ahead you can specify here. And then you can specify the cutoff day here. How will system understand what is the cutoff day? That means from which day you have to start calculating the month, whether it is 31st day of the month or 30th day. So like this, you can specify the cutoff day. So enter the day that determines whether the discount and due dates are for the current or future month. So you specify the cutoff day with the that day of the month. So you specify that cutoff day and then on whether it is due in next month or in this month itself. And then in the bottom section, we will specify the set assignment, whether it is business unit specific set or it is a common set. So you attach this common set.
So this is the reference data set, right?
This is the reference data set, common. So this would be available in all the business units. If you specify a business unit specific reference set, then this would only be available in your specific business units. Be conscious about this date. Any PO or invoice that you enter before this date, from the start date, then this payment terms will not appear in that invoice. So be conscious whenever you are creating the payment terms, what start date you are giving.
So I have a question here. Like say suppose I created this payment term as you just now did and started from 1/1/2019. After like say 4 months down the lane, if I decide to make a change on this payment term, right? from like say instead of discount being 1 by 10, if I make a discount to be like 15% or something like that. So what is it going to do? And if I put the start date, if I don't change the start date, if I still keep it as 1/1/2019, so does
it is going to do nothing. Like, or if it has been already used in the invoices, it is not going to change any existing invoices, because using this payment term, system would have generated the installments. System run the processes behind the scene using the payment term. It generates the payment installments when the payment is due and everything. So system would have already generated for the existing invoices. For the new invoices, the new changes that you have done will take effect.
Okay.
And why would you want to change the payment term and add discount? You can add more payment terms here. Always we have an option.
Okay. Because like we have certain scenarios in which like what they do is like we have payment terms which are defined, but for a shorter period of time there is like large amount of sale which comes in, and they go back and like modify the payment term.
Okay.
So there I was asking, like if we go back and modify, but you say we always have an option of adding another payment term. So
we can add as many payment terms as you want. Like for that shorter period of sale period of time, you can have those payment terms in the like separate payment terms.
Yeah, and then just use those payment terms rather than these regular ones. Because the only thing is editing. Yeah, the only thing is sometimes when you make changes to the payment terms, they have to be approved by the supplier and all those kind of things. So
right.
See, the only thing is I don't see it over here anything which says that when was the last time this payment term was modified or updated.
No, you have that option. 1 minute.
Does it show over here?
So any record you go, any setup you go, you have this option. You can go and about this record, view and about this record. So this tells me who updated it and when was the last update date.
That is for the last history, not for the
It does not tell me what is updated here. Yeah. It does not in the database. In the same record, it makes the changes. It does not create two records so you cannot even retrieve what was changed. Just the date and who changed it. That's all.
It's not maintaining the history. That's what the earlier question was. It just overrides this one.
It just overrides. It's not maintaining the history.
So these payment terms, we usually get it from the client itself, right? How they
Yes.
And do you usually like create this data in the system, or do you upload it using FPDI or some templates?
Payment terms, we do not have any ADFDI or FPDI to upload. Yeah, last time for a client I had to create, so we had created it, but we created it in the test environment. There were some 50 payment terms I had to create, and then for moving we have the setup migration. So when I had to move it from the dev to test and to production, we had that setup migration process. So I didn't have to create it again in the development, but once I had to create it in the development environment. Okay, so next is unit of measures. What is a unit of measures? It is like simple and understandable. Whenever we are entering a purchase order, we enter a purchase order line, and against that line we enter a unit of measure, that whatever item or that we are entering, in what unit it is measured, whether it is a fixed price service or something, then it is time based. We are measuring it in the unit of measure of hour, be it is kilogram or whatever the different types of tons, metric tons, whatever it is, we can specify those kind of unit of measures. So you can define your unit of measure classes, that is whether it is time, weight, length, in what classes you are measuring it, and you can also define the unit of measure conversions. So you can define the base unit of measure, and you can define the unit of measures on top of it, and you can define the conversion factor, that 60 minutes is equals to 1 hour, 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds and all that. So you can define the conversions as well. 1 kg is 1000 grams. So all these types of unit of measures you can define with the conversion. Defining it is like very simple in the system. You just go to the unit of measure classes. You define the classes first.
In this one, like common, you said like when we create a payment term, we can assign it to the common set. So do we get like by default some payment terms in the system as a part of common set, or no?
Yeah, there are 3-4 payment terms which are there, like immediate, net 30, and there are 1 or 2 other payment terms that are available by default.
In the common set. The rest you have to add it to the common set if you want to have.
Right.
Okay. And to like to particular business unit, can you assign both the common set and the business units, like business common set as well as
Yes, you can. Common set, if you have attached common set, then you would not need to attach the business unit set because it will be available for all.
Okay.
One thing, but there is an option to, let's say you have 5 business units, you want that payment term to appear in 2 business units. Okay, that would be a better example. You can attach 2 reference set to the same payment term. Yeah, business 1 set, business unit 1 set, business unit 2 set.
Okay, but if but I was talking about the scenario in which, like, say, I created a payment term and I put it into the common set, which means it's available to all, right? And now I have some more terms which I want only specific to this business unit. So rather than replicating all the terms which are there in the common set, I can attach a common set plus these 3 extra terms to this business unit. So my business unit gets 10 terms from common set and 3 from the specific business unit. Is it possible?
Yeah, that is possible. That you can define new payment terms and give the new reference set. That always you can do.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I can assign multiple reference sets so that business unit can get both the common plus the business unit specific.
Yeah, that's what the use of reference set. Okay, so you can go and define the manage UOM classes first. I'm not going to define anything because it is just data entry sort of thing. So you just give the class code and the description and what will be your base unit of measures. So you just define all that, whether it is each quantity. So people have just done anything here because this is just a test environment. So you can define your classes and then you can give your standard conversions.
So the classes is what something you used in the transaction while entering the order?
Right. So this UOM code will be used for entering the transactions. So class name will be coming here. You will be using the UOM code, unit of measure code.
2 things. One is UOM conversion, whatever it have, is common, not specific to a business unit. It is common across and it's common across the modules also.
Right.
Okay. And then second, now that system is expecting you to do a relative unit of measure conversion, like in multiple software to derive do you have any concept of what is the primary unit of measure? I know there are so many unit of measure out of
Yes. So we have something called as, that's what I said, base unit of measure here. So base unit of measure we always choose to be the lowest level. Like if we are defining it for time, we will choose the seconds. And if we are defining for weight, kilograms, we'll choose grams. So we will choose a base unit of measure as the lowest level first, and then on top of it, we can go on defining it.
But does it has to be the lowest level?
That's what Oracle documentation says, that always define the lowest level as the base unit of measure. That's a recommended practice.
Hey Ashish, question. You said we can receive a different unit of measure, right? When we get it, when it's received, how is it? Is there a conversion or something, or how does it work?
Yeah, so that's what we have defined the conversions here. That's how the system understands.
Okay, you predefine the conversions. Okay,
yeah, we predefine the conversions. So only unit of measures that will be available while receiving is for which you have defined the conversions.
Got it. Thanks.